Our very first story, the Ghana Health Service says it has mounted increased surveillance at the various entry points in the country to prevent the spread of the Ebola virus, which has been reported in some countries in the West African sub-region. Director of Public Health, Dr. Joseph Amankwa, indicated the service is constrained with facilities to quarantine people and is calling on the public to immediately report any suspicious cases of the virus to various health institutions for immediate care.
Some noticeable signs of the Ebola virus include internal and external bleeding, diarrhea and vomiting. The virus is mostly spread by the consumption of the meat of monkeys, bats and other wild animals. Bats are, however, the main carriers of the virus.
And from the bats, the disease is transmitted, the virus is transmitted to other wild animals. So you have chimpanzees, you have porcupines, you have antelopes, you have monkeys. And then when humans come in contact with these animals that may be showing the signs and symptoms of the disease or may even die and touch them without precaution, they pick the virus and then the person gets the disease. And then the person now begins to transmit the disease from person to person. So it becomes human to human transmission.
There is currently no cure for the disease, and when contracted, one has only 4 hours to live.
Somebody has come into contact with an Ebola hemorrhagic fever patient. We are saying that we should keep that person for 3 weeks. We don't have those facilities. We are not, and in any case, we are using WHO guidelines. What we can do for now is to pick them where they are, follow them through, and keep vigil, keep surveillance on them. Indeed, that's what we've been doing. We've done in the past, H1N1.
It is also estimated that 90% of all persons who have contracted the virus have not survived. So far, over 64 people in West Africa, particularly in Guinea, have contracted the disease, and there are fears it could easily spread to the country due to the porous nature of the borders.
We've sent what we call standard operating procedures to all our regions and district health managers to ensure that the information gets to those who are on the ground, those in the hospitals, in the clinics, health centers, and those who are doing surveillance. And then we are also going to have what we call National Technical Coordinating Committee meeting. The one is looking at case management. What resources shall we need? Are people trained to be able to manage the cases properly?
The Ghana Health Service says any cases of vomiting, diarrhea and bleeding should be immediately reported to the various health institutions.
Parliament has adopted a motion moved by the majority leader on February 13, seeking to direct the Minister of Health to review the health insurance capitation program currently being piloted in the Ashanti region. The minister is expected to carry out the directive issued by the Speaker and report to the House within 4 weeks.
The motion was initially moved by the Member of Parliament for Nshiaiso, Dr. Richard Anani, and seconded by Brekum East MP, Dr. Kwabena Chum Nuama, for the termination of the pilot program. This was amended by the Leader of the House, Dr. Kumbuo, for a review of the program to be extended to other regions. In moving the motion, the chairman of the Health Committee urged the ministry to, as a matter of urgency, rectify the challenges and extend the pilot to 3 more regions.
Preparations have to be done, and they were done in the case of the Ashanti region. But anything that you are implementing, and somebody who was benefiting from it is now at a disadvantage, obviously it will be a problem. So the preparations must be thorough in the Upper West, Upper East and the Volta region, so that they are aware of what they should do and what they should expect. Urging all of you to support this motion and to urge the ministry to bring quickly the review, and possibly we extend capitation to the 3 regions.
The ranking member of the Health Committee, in seconding the motion, outlined some points he said will help in resolving the problem.
Mr. Speaker, in that consideration, we will wish the Minister and the authority to take note of a few points. What to do with the unrolling policy? Steps to be taken to assign clients to providers in the first instance. stakeholder interactions on tariffs before any future implementation. Steps to be taken to ensure the future or further implementation of the capitation policy will not engender an increase in out-of-pocket expenditure. We wish the authority to take note of this, that in all their actions, they ensure that no matter whatever they do, it should not result in an increase in out-of-pocket expenditure.
Honourable members, as many as are in favour of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. And accordingly, the Honourable Minister for Health should submit a report as contained in the motion to the House within 4 weeks.
In another development, the anti-money laundering bill was approved and passed.
Over 246,700 maternal deaths are recorded annually worldwide, with sub-Saharan Africa accounting for 162,000, more than half of the incidents. Most of these deaths are as a result of complications of pregnancy and childbirth. Experts, however, say 94,000 of maternal deaths could be prevented if all women who want to avoid pregnancy were able to stop childbearing. According to them, one way of doing this is by the use of effective contraceptives.
Research shows that 1 in every 68 women in Ghana stands the risk of dying during pregnancy or childbirth. Women below age 18 or above age 35, women who become pregnant less than 2 years after childbirth, and women who have already had 4 babies are part of women who stand high risk of having complications during pregnancy, which can lead to maternal death. Head of the Reproductive Health Unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Ali Samba says these situations can reduce if women plan their families and seek expert advice.
Family planning is just not preventing pregnancy. We also help people who are trying to achieve pregnancy to also achieve pregnancy. So it's a whole big picture. One of the most important benefits of family planning is saving lives. Up to 40% of all maternal deaths could be prevented by using contraception. Just preventing the pregnancy without going to antenatal clinic, without going to look for blood for transfusion, looking for antibiotics, magnesium sulfate and all those things. By just preventing the pregnancy alone, 94,000 maternal deaths could be avoided.
Contraceptives are the main tools used in family planning, but its uptake amongst the population in Ghana is low. The 23.4 prevalence rate is blamed on a lack of education on its usage. DKT International, the largest private provider of contraceptive products and services in developing countries, is however seeking to change this.
What people don't know, they don't know. And one of the things we at DKT have to do is to educate women and men on modern contraceptive methods, particularly long-term methods. We have a program called the No Yawa program, which is aimed specifically at the youth. We are aiming to actually visit 140 schools in the next 3 months, providing talks, panel discussions and activations just in terms of what modern contraception can do and how it can improve your life.
The company has the Lydia range of contraceptives in Ghana.
The Lydia oral contraceptive pill, this has a 28 pill pack, and that is taken daily by the lady, and it is able to protect you from getting pregnant. Okay, then we have the Lydia Daphne. Apart from protecting you against pregnancy, you stand to have your face made more smooth for you to look younger, devoid of acne, devoid of hair. Then we have the Lydia Post Pill. This is an emergency contraception. We have the Lydia Injectables. We have the Lydia Safe Load. That's a long-acting contraceptive method.
Greater Accra Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Linda Van Otu, launching the product, called on all Ghanaians to help educate young women, especially on deciding what they want to become in future.
With Lydia range of contraceptives, you decide what happens in your life.
The Ashanti Region Police has announced the establishment of an anti-robbery task force to tackle the growing number of armed robbery cases in the region. The initiative comes on the back of a string of incidents, the latest occurring in the Chuma district, where a man was killed by the robbers. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
At the launching of the reaffirmation of public confidence in the Ghana Police Service in Kumasi, DCOP Nathan Kofi-Boakye explained that the decision to form the task force is to deal with the rising incidents of criminal acts in the region. He said the regional anti-robbery task force is to concentrate on robbery cases, look at criminal profiling and review the modus operandi of armed robbers to make arrests easier. On the possession of illegal firearms, the regional commander said all unauthorized weapons must be handed over to the police command with immediate effect, or anybody arrested in the possession of a firearm will first be deemed as an armed robber until proven otherwise. As part of the motivation to help fight illegal possession of firearms, the regional commander announced a 1,000 Ghana cedi reward for anyone who assists the police in retrieving AK-47 rifles from civilians, since it is not permitted for them to possess. DCOP Boakye also urged police officers with the Motor Traffic and Transport Department to live up to expectation. He said most of the MTTD officers are embarrassing the police service in the region and pledged to deal with any reported extortion or bribery incidents.
I think the major responsibility lies with the police service itself. And as echoed by the Inspector General of Police, which I subscribe to, some of our activities, especially on the roads, in investigations, and on other issues, leaves much to be desired. Some policemen really embarrass us and at worst scandalize the police service as a whole. Some of the unprofessional practices that we ourselves get involved are extortion of money. And I must state here and now that most of the MTU officers are really embarrassing police service. And in Kumasi here now, we have made our mind that if only you can report bribery or extortion, then the police should take action to the fullest. But the public must also know that the giver and the taker are all at risk.
In a related development, the Obuasi police has arrested 2 suspected criminals, namely Kwame Nyame, 29, and Kwesi Owusu, 60, with 19 locally made pistols, 1 pump-action gun, 10 double and single-barreled guns, among others. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin's report from the Ashanti region.
Residents of Savelugu in the Savelugu-Nanto municipality have been left terrified by the shooting to death of 20-year-old Adam Zakaria by unknown assailants. The deceased is said to have been killed when the assailants attacked some money dabblers known as the Dala Se group. No arrests have yet been made in connection with the crime, but the body of the deceased has been deposited at the Tamale West Hospital morgue. The residents say the police would have to increase their patrols and improve the security situation. In a related development, the timely intervention of the police in Tamale Wednesday morning prevented what could have been a bloody clash at Manguli Kuku, a farming community in the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly, after a newly installed chief, Na Al-Hassan Bumbay, was attacked by supporters of an opposing chief in area. Northern Regional Police Public Relations Officer ASP Eveza Tete spoke to Joynews. All right, we do not have that. I'll move on to other stories. Now, all 146 inmates at the country's prisons who are facing the death sentence could be singing a new song following Cabinet's approval of the draft recommendation by the Constitutional Review Commission. Executive Director of Amnesty International, Dr. Lawrence Amesu, at the launch of the 2013 Global Death Penalty Report, indicated that Ghana will join 36 other countries worldwide who have banished the death penalty should Parliament go ahead to assent to the presidential bill before the end of the year.
According to the 2013 Global Death Penalty Report, at least 778 people were executed in 2013. The executions took place in countries like China, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the USA, and Somalia. China is said to have executed more people than the rest of the world put together, but the true extent of the use of the death penalty in China is unknown, as data is considered a state secret.
Amnesty International globally is winning the campaign against the death penalty because in 1994 there were about 37 countries that were executing. In 2004 the number dropped down to 25 countries. We are hoping that in next year, when we report on the death sentences and executions, it will be in teens, which means that it will be below 20 countries still executing.
The report also stated that 4 countries, including Nigeria, Indonesia, Kuwait and Vietnam, that had not used the death penalty for over a 2-year period, carried out some executions in 2013. And the method of execution was mostly by hanging, beheading, electrocution, lethal ejection and shooting. Ghana has not executed any person since 1994, 20 years ago. Director of Amnesty International, Dr. Lawrence Amesu says, though Ghana hasn't done so bad, there was still the need to expunge the death penalty from the country's law books.
What has also happened now is that the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee has just sent a bill to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General to ensure that we started the process of taking the death penalty from our law books. And the President yesterday said that today, as we learn the report, the Cabinet will be sitting on it and will sign, which means that from there, from Cabinet, it will go to Parliament and it will go to the National Council of States. And from there, once it's been approved by Parliament, it then goes to referendum. And we hope and believe that all Ghanaians will support the abolition of death penalty. And by the end of the year, we will review our constitution and death penalty will be out of it.
The European Union has hinted of its support to assist Amnesty International to see capital punishment expunged worldwide.
For the EU, it is a question of human rights, it is a question of human dignity. We consider that the death penalty is not deterrent to prevent crimes. And so we consider that we should, by all means, try to put an end to the death penalty.
According to Amnesty International, the death penalty has not achieved its desired results, noting that the fear of one being killed for murdering another has not in any way reduced crime or contract murders. Officials called for a stakeholders dialogue to fashion out the best way to deal with the situation.
We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up. Don't go away. A 6-year-old girl at Wenchi who was denied education because of a physical disability is still not in school. Officials at the Wenchi Municipal Education Office say they are still investigating her case 1 month after the story came to light. Meanwhile, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, RAJ, which are taking up the matter, appears to have come to some conclusions which are not supported by the facts on the ground. Jojo Kobnam has more.
He has got a hand, but we have a hand which can hold something. The hand cannot hold a top, cannot hold a pen, a top. Now that I've seen that, for me I haven't seen her, and I don't know anything about her. Yes.
Alberta Bife's only wish is to see her daughter enjoy the right to education.
A
month after Joynews aired the story on mass issue, nothing much has changed, just winding bureaucracy. At the Wenchi Municipal Education Office, where I reported the issue, officials did not have much information to share on their investigations into the matter. They could not tell me when exactly they would conclude their investigations. There isn't much help coming from Shraj either. It was clear from my interactions with the district director that they got some facts wrong.
In the first place, our observations. Well, yeah, we made some observations that the child could not walk without aid. that her legs do not seem normal, that the child was not physically strong, and that she seems to be suffering from an illness over a long period of time, that she could not speak either than making sounds that we do not understand.
But here was Ma at home after we left the Shrine office. Meanwhile, Reach Out World Mission, a group of young people who are into helping such persons, have gotten a wheelchair for Ma. With her school uniform, a wheelchair, learning materials, Ma is all set to start school once the authorities grant her admission. Article 25 of the Constitution grants children the right to education. Section 8 of the Children's Act also states that no child should be denied access to education, a right Ma is seeking to enjoy. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Member of Parliament for Salaga South has requested the Volta Lake Transport Company to deploy 2 new ferries to Yeji, Mankango on the Volta Lake in the northern region. According to him, the only ferry which used to transport both commuters and cargo is broken down and is affecting commercial activity between the north and south. He made the request on the floor of Parliament.
According to the MP for Salaga, Ahaji Abubakar Dey, the construction of the Akosombo Dam in the early 60s created a huge challenge of accessibility for both motorists and pedestrians. The MP said the strategic location of the ferry crossing and the direct access it provided and continued to provide to Kumasi, Ashanti Mampong and the north promoted business activities for the people in the area. He mentioned the continuous absence of the ferry will affect the economic situation of the people living in the area and the country as a whole.
Mr. Speaker, anytime the ferry is broken down, vehicular traffic from the eastern part of the northern Ghana traveling to Ejura and beyond have to make a circuitous route through Bupe, Kintampo and Techima, thus increasing the travel distance with its attendant costs in vehicle operational costs in terms of fuel use, wear and tear, and the obvious consequential costs in fares and haulage. The immediate solution to this recurrent problem, Mr. Speaker, is for the Volta Lake Transport Company to provide a new craft at West or 2 new ferries as it used to be in the past to take care of the increased vehicular traffic, to ease the congestion and to provide convenience to the motoring public. Mr. Speaker,
the MP for Sunyani West and Deputy Minority Whip Ignatius Bafwewa supported the call and said a lot of lives have been lost as a result of the breakdown of the ferry.
Many a times when the ferry breaks down, the people resort to dug out canoes as an alternative way of crossing the lake, and this has caused a lot of fatalities on the lake, because in the lake we still have stamps which were left over as a result of the flooding of the river after the creation of the Akosombo Dam. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to add my voice to that which is made by my colleague, that the issue of attending to the ferry on the Yeji Salaga side of the Volta Lake is something which is very urgent and needs an immediate attention.
Road transport accounts for something like 97% of passengers and maybe 96% of goods in the movement of goods. And therefore, in Ghana, yes. And therefore, I think it's extremely important that we pay more serious attention to lake transport. And it's not just the transport which moves from south to north and back, but it is also cross-lake transport, between various major cities of our country, especially on the eastern side of our country, from Akosombo all the way to the north.
The Salaga MP also urged government in the medium to long term construct a permanent bridge on the lake to resolve the perennial transport challenges in that part of the country.
The current capacity of Ghana's road fund can only sustain about 60% of the country's road maintenance needs. To address the 40% shortfall, Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, Isaac J. Mensah, is proposing a levy on vehicles which use liquefied petroleum gas as fuel. He was delivering the keynote address at a public forum on financing road maintenance at Bolgatanga in the Upper East region on Thursday. Albert Sorry filed this report from Bolgatanga.
The public forum on financing road maintenance was organized under the auspices of the Ministry of Roads and Highways. It was attended by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Roads and Transport, led by Deputy Roads and Highways Minister Isaac J. Mensah, members of the Ghana Road Fund Board, and officials of the Road Fund Secretariat, members of the Road Contractors Association, and other stakeholders in the sector. The focus of the forum was to deliberate on how revenue mobilized for the Ghana Road Fund can be increased, since it is no longer adequate.
Thus, if we all know what we could save by paying a road maintenance tariff, most of us would certainly be willing to pay, even if it would mean paying in addition to what we must be paying already in the form of fuel levy and other vehicle-related taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, let me re-emphasize that even though we do contribute by way of fees and tolls to the road fund for the maintenance of our roads, this forms an insignificant part of the actual cost of construction and maintenance of our roads.
Speaking exclusively to Joynews, Professor Mohamed Salifu, who is a member of the Ghana Road Fund Board, said the levy on petrol, which currently stands at 6 pesos per litre, was fixed in 2005. He is proposing 20 pesos per litre. He also supports proposals for LPG used as fuel for cars to be levied and proceeds used to support the Ghana Road Fund.
Those who buy LPG are not paying any levy, and the reason is that the LPG was intended for domestic usage. Now, we notice that a lot of commercial transport, taxis for example, are switching to the use of LPG, which means that they are using the road network, but they are not making the contribution that they ought to be making. And that's a significant problem. And what we are suggesting is that the fuel levy equivalent, the equivalent of the fuel levy has to be actually imposed on the LPG.
Upper East Regional Minister Dr. Ephraim Avia-Insor promised to do his best as political head of the region to maintain as many roads as possible.
Old village, I have several uncompleted roads. Culverts are just built, they are standing there. In the last 6-7 years, I don't know who owns them. And so all across the region, the poor performance by contractors. I'm aware some contractors have left the roads unrepaired or unmaintained. In some cases, some of them even take money. The uncompleted culverts are uncompleted. So I'm aware they have problems. Their colleagues in the Upper West, I'm sure they are happy I've left. I hope my minister there will take on. I'm here and they should listen and listen to me well.
The Ghana Infrastructure Fund Committee has presented its maiden policy document to President John Dramani Mahama, spelling out how the funds should be mobilized, regulated and disbursed. Leader of the committee, Ato Ahoy, says the draft bill should be in Parliament in April and be passed by June. A report by Gifty Andopia.
The Ghana Infrastructure Fund was announced by President Mahama in his State of the Nation address this year, and the committee formed thereafter to set out modalities. Explaining the framework, Ato Ahoy said, among others, the recently passed 2.5% tax will be one of the sources of funding.
We also know from the budget that we're going to get 25% of the annual budget funding amount, which is applied to amortization and direct infrastructure expenditure. Any inflows arising out of monies on lent to SOEs by the Ministry of Finance and repaid by those SOEs would also be put into this fund.
It will also accrue monies made from disposal of state assets, grants and donations, investments and any other monies determined by the Finance Minister. These should be paid within at least 2 weeks after each month. 10% of the amount will be set aside for what he called impact projects.
By impact projects, we mean funds which necessarily would not give the rate of return that we are looking at, but which are necessary for the development of the country and will also lead to the re-election of the political parties. We believe that health should be part of the impact projects, where cheaper funds may be used. Less stringent measures may be applied to them because health is everything.
The fund, according to the committee, should focus on infrastructure that is commercial in nature to rake in returns.
So, for example, if we invest in a road, if we were to do a 6-lane road from Accra through Kumasi, through Tamale to Bolga to Paga, 6-lane, we should expect that this road will pay for itself within a period of between 15 and 25 years. This road can only pay for itself if Ghanaians understand, and the press allow Ghanaians to understand, that people should pay tolls on those roads.
He mentioned the areas to be covered under the fund.
We are talking of energy, water and waste services, transportation, telecommunications, oil and gas infrastructure, agricultural infrastructure, mining infrastructure, educational infrastructure, housing, roads and highways, the manufacturing and construction of goods, equipment, plants and buildings, and then the infrastructure component of industrial projects.
President Mahama said this will give the country a better control of its debt portfolio.
It's going to give us a better debt sustainability than we have had in the past. I believe this development is a very positive one for this country, and we're going to go by the roadmap that you have indicated in the report. We were bent on approving it in Cabinet today. As a result of a few developments, Cabinet has been postponed to Monday, which is still a good thing. It is going to give the members of Cabinet the opportunity to go through the report over the weekend and be able to make a meaningful discussion of the report when Cabinet takes it on Monday. As soon as that is done, we shall arrange for it to be tabled in Parliament.
It is expected to be passed in Parliament as a body independently regulated by a board of directors and an advisory council. It will also see the recruitment of staff to man it. Gifty Andopia, Joynews, Flagstaff House.
Time now for some business reports with me, Abigail Adomakuenchi. Now to some energy stories. The ongoing nationwide power rationing program is seriously affecting the productivity of industries in the western region. Apart from the loss of productive hours, the businesses are having to spend more to fuel their generators. Western regional correspondent William Benjamin Peters, however, reports some companies are trying to find ways around the problem by producing their own electricity. So we'll go back to the story I read earlier where companies are really struggling with this nationwide power rationing. Let's watch this.
A visit to most companies, especially within the Sekendita-Krade metropolis, saw workers idling due to the lack of electricity to power their machines. Others have vacated their offices entirely and were seen dallying outside to escape the heat building up inside where the fans and air conditions can't function because of the outage. Coincidentally though, power was restored at the time we're filming at 2 p.m. They were now returning to their posts to earn their wages, but hoping they would be able to meet their daily targets. Samuel Kwesiden is an engineer and consultant, told Joynews they spend about 1,000 Ghana cedis daily to fuel their generator alone. He talked about plans to generate their own electricity so they can meet their production targets and avoid laying off workers or folding up.
We have no choice. Because when the workers come to work, and whether they work or they don't work, once they have started to work, except you ask them not to come to work. But if they come to work, they have a month. And you cannot afford to have them sit down here and go back home for a month. So you are compelled to start a genocide.
Well, it looks like the load shedding is really having a toll on businesses. We will be bringing you more on that. Now, renowned Ghanaian investor and co-founder of Blue Skies said they has called on government to scale up support for the agricultural sector. Speaking at the 11th MTN Business World Executive Breakfast meeting in Accra, he said Ghana has great potential to become a leading food producer in the West African sub-region and that more efforts must be done to support the sector.
Speaking on how he helped to build and turn a Ghanaian food company into a global brand, said they explained that agribusiness plays an important role in economic development and that more support must be given to the sector. He suggested educating farmers on how to enhance their production globally.
A general lack of interest in agriculture on the part of our society, our governments. Agriculture has been relegated to the back. You know, when you look through our budget, the part that is going to grow agriculture is very small. We do not appreciate the importance of the agricultural sector. That's what I'm saying. But when you do a little bit, like Blue Skies, you see it brings a lot. So if you had 10, 20 Blue Skies in Ghana, it would make a big difference.
In line with the theme for the 11th edition of the Breakfast Series, Positioning Your Business for Global Expansion, MTN launched a new service to facilitate business between Ghana's rapidly expanding markets and the rest of the world. Corporate Business Manager Richard Densu explains the operations of the MTN MPLS VPN.
The global MPLS connectivity solution that we're providing is to provide a seamless connectivity solutions for businesses across Africa and beyond. So that's what the product is mainly about, is to provide that connectivity at a low cost and also make it seamless. Okay, so by dealing with one provider, MTN Business, you can connect to many countries. You don't have to deal with different providers in those countries. We can take care of all that. Mainly it's about business connectivity and whether in country or outside country, so it could be African countries or countries outside Africa.
The Executive Breakfast Series, which is in its 4th year, has become a platform for executive briefings, networking and business matching for CEOs, senior management professionals and entrepreneurs in Ghana. Matilda Pamaga for Joynews, Accra.
Well, the traders are talking as the Ghana Union of Traders Association has presented a petition to President John Mahama seeking policy reviews on newly introduced taxes, the invasion of the local retail markets by foreigners, and the free fall of the cedi, among others. According to the GUTA president, the matters need to be addressed urgently, lest it hampers governance of the country.
The executive of GUTA said the increment of taxes and addition of new ones will only result in a lot more corrupt practices that rip the nation of the needed tax resources.
The activities of people at the ports must seriously be looked at so that we don't get, people condoling and conniving with officials and then getting more money as against what we pay to the state. I think if it happens and continues, then it will be very difficult for your governance to operate.
They spoke about VAT charges on banking, dollar index on import duties, as well as the continuous depreciation of the local currency and the diverse effects on businesses. They also requested for funding for the pension scheme for the informal sector.
The dollar index is what is being used as a determinant in terms of paying one's duty at the port of entry. And now if we are saying we don't want dollarization, then it means it has to affect the clearance of goods at the ports.
They expressed a vote of no confidence in a task force set up to regulate foreign invasion of the local market, hence their withdrawal.
As a result of the ineffectiveness of the task force, GUTA have written officially to the Minister of Trade and Industry to withdraw our membership from the task force, with the intention of going on these foreigners to make sure that they leave at all costs. Whether there are laws or not, we are staying with them, and if we think they are creating problem for our businesses, I think we have to also let the authorities know before the unexpected happens.
President Mahama noted they will receive feedback from the presidency soon after the petition is thoroughly studied.
And I'm happy you talked about the Made in Ghana campaign. We want to transform this economy from being an economy that just consumes imported products to an economy that also produces. And so we want to trigger that sense of, manufacturing and industry amongst Ghanaians. And I know that GUTA would be a partner in doing this. But we'll look at it and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible so that we can address some of the concerns that you have raised.
This is the second time the group is meeting with the president. Also at the Flagstaff House was the Commissioner of Domestic Tax Revenue at the Ghana Revenue Authority to receive the president's tax returns for 2013. President Mahama said his action is to prompt Ghanaians to follow suit so that the government can deliver on its responsibilities to the citizenry.
I receive royalties on my book, and I also have extra income from some agricultural activity that I undertake with my family, and so I make it a point to file my tax returns every year and pay the tax on it. And I want to urge, all Ghanaians. I mean, most people assume that once you are being deducted on the pay as you earn, the payee schedule, then you don't have an obligation to pay to file your tax. But it's obligatory on every Ghanaian at the end of the tax year to file your tax returns. We all want good roads, we all want quality schools, we all want good health care, we all want ports that are working efficiently, we want bridges. And
Gifty Andropia, Joynews, Flagstaff House.
Well, it looks like the president will have to deal with a lot of petitions now. We'll move away from that and go into the insurance sector, where insurance companies have until end of December to settle claims with indebted clients or consider monies owed them as bad debt. The directive from the National Insurance Commission is in line with its no premium, no cover policy, which takes effect from the 1st of April this year. According to the Commission, the policy will help insurance companies pay up claims and strengthen the industry.
The no premium, no cover policy is to ensure that no insurance product is sold to clients on credit.
In the past, we've been selling insurance on credit, such that there were cases when for a whole year, the insured or the policyholder will not have paid the premium, and yet we continue to renew the policy, and that has affected the insurance business in Ghana. Insurance companies have liquidity problems, cash flow problems, solvency problems. They cannot meet claims. Even expanding is a problem. So we cannot employ because the insurance companies are not expanding, and that causes confidence problems for the insurance industry, because the public has no confidence in the insurance industry because they believe that the insurers do not pay claims. And then we have not also been able to earn the trust of the public.
The National Insurance Commission is also asking insurance companies to settle their claims by the end of December, or will have their monies written off thereafter.
Altogether, the public owes the industry about 130 million in premiums, and this is affecting most of the insurance companies, such that some of them are not even solvent. So we're saying that before April, insurance companies may have underwritten insurance on credit. We're saying that by 31st December, all such premium that is outstanding should be recovered or be written off as bad debts. There should not be premium outstanding on any insurance company's balance sheets.
The National Insurance Commission to enforce the policy has meanwhile been engaging all stakeholders in the insurance industry to ensure the operations of the policy are well understood and effectively carried out. Abigail Adumakwenchi for Joynews.
Well, we have more on Ayite Palace and Bukom Banku coming up next in sports. My name is Abigail Adumakwenchi.
Time for latest in the world of sports. Ayite Palace has pulled out of the much talked about April 18 fight, with Bukom Banku insisting actually the Holy Spirit has told him the date is not favorable. It's not clear what the legal ramifications will be. However, Palace has declared that the promoters cannot sue him.
Ghanaian boxer Ayite Palace has shockingly pulled out of next month's much-awaited clash with Bukom Banku, claiming Nigerian pastor TB Joshua has asked him to withdraw. Powers, who visited the Nigerian preacher man last week for prayers, claims God has asked him not to fight on the match advertised date of 18th April at the Crossport Stadium. His decision comes 24 hours after the tickets went out on sale, with a mad rush for the much-awaited non-title bout. The decision would leave promoters' box office promotions out of pocket of about $1 million, hugely damaging the potential of reviving boxing in the country after international broadcaster Super Sports signed on to carry the fight live. Powers, who signed a contract to fight on 18th April and took part payment, has not even informed the promoters of the fight, who have spent millions in promoting the fight. When asked if he's ready to face the legal consequences of his actions, having signed a contract to fight, Powers insists he has done nothing wrong to pull out. He insists he's ready to refund the preparation money he has taken from the promoters of the fight. The two loud-mouthed boxers have been engaging in media war over the past months, and box office promotions secure the signature of the two for a non-title fight. Banku is undefeated in 26 fights with 20 knockouts, while Powers has lost 23 times in 42 fights.
He said TB Joshua, he don't know nothing. I go beat Ayite Palace and I go beat TB Joshua too.
Thank God there's been some update, and there may just be light at the end of the tunnel to have that Bukom Banku and Ayite Palace bout as planned, because the Ghana Boxing Authority, who sanctioned the bout, have assured that showdown is on. Nadakwa is spokesperson of the Ghana Boxing Authority.
A whole lot of stakeholders are into this. It's not just about the boxers. So we wanted to seek the views of the two boxers, and if it's rescheduled or it's cancelled, now we can concretely say that the fight will come on, not on the 18th, but at a later date. But we're yet to come out with a statement because we're going to meet Super Sport.
Okay,
because they have their calendar, so we're just going to meet them and then tell them the new date. If it suits them, then we'll come out with the date.
All right, so the two boxers have agreed to fight?
Yes, and
okay.
Truly he confirmed this to us. A whole lot of people were in a meeting with him. So it has been confirmed that the fight will come on at a later date after we've met with Super Sports. It's not going to keep long. Less than a month, this fight will come on.
All right, some good news there. We're definitely hoping that bout will be on. But we're looking for a response from Bukom Banku. We met him, went to his place, but he actually says that he's thinking now. He doesn't want to respond to any of all that's happening. Now let's talk about the FIFA Women's Under-17 tournament ongoing in Costa Rica. We'll just talk about the fixtures because the Black Maidens are up against Italy tonight. That game is at 11 p.m. We're hoping our ladies can do very well in the game. There's also Venezuela up against Canada. There's Japan up against Mexico. Japan are actually the favorites in this particular competition. Nigeria up against Spain. That's your sports. My name is George Addy Jr. Israel will join us with some more.
As part of the celebration of World Theatre Day in Ghana, some industry players have held a colorful ceremony at the National Theatre.
Theatre art in Ghana has over the years grown to become one of the most patronized sector here in Ghana. Be it music, drama or poetry, these have seen some reasonable amount of growth one way or the other.
Okay, so you want a gospel song?
In celebrating World Theatre Day, theatre lovers gathered at the National Theatre to observe as well as celebrate the day. The ceremony saw exciting performances which left patrons asking for more.
I want Jesus to breathe, hallelujah, praise God! Praise God! Praise God!
Speaking to the Deputy Executive Director of Artistic at the National Theatre, Amy Appiah-Frimpong, she tells us about the relevance of theatre art and its future in Ghana.
I think if you allow theatre to, or theatre is actually supported, it has the potential to create lots of jobs.
Some theatre lovers also share their views on theatre.
Theatre means a lot in our society, that if we continue to have theatre in our midst, I'm sure can even build a nation.
With me, I think the way forward, movie theatre is reawakening the art center and having series of productions there.
Renowned playwright Anklebo White had earlier advocated for the use of theatre as a tool for development, as it is extremely powerful.
Popular Ghanaian actor Kofi Edu, otherwise known as Ejako, has said he could be a possible candidate for a political party, and if the NPP should decide to choose him as their flag bearer, he would avail himself for the position, but only if all other candidates step down for him.
Ejako was reacting to a cheeky comment by a New Patriotic Party youth organizer, suggesting the comedian is a better presidential candidate for the party than the seasoned economist Dr. Kofi Apreku. The Bunahaf original youth organizer of the NPP, Mr. Kwame Bafo, told a Sunyane-based FM he prefers Ejako to Dr. Kofi Apreku as the flag bearer of NPP after Dr. Apreku had made derogatory comments about Nana Akufo-Addo. Ejako, who spoke on our sister station Adom FM, understood the NPP man's comparison as a joke, but indulging himself for a moment, he fantasized that he can win power for any political party in Ghana, including the NPP, if elected as the flag bearer for the party. Ejako explains he has spent the past decade entertaining people through movies and stage concerts and has bonded so well with Ghanaians. He also believes Ghanaians, especially the youth, will rally their support behind him should he compete for the presidency, adding that his marketability and popularity can be converted into votes when given the opportunity. Meanwhile, the actor has made it clear that he is not going to enter into politics anytime soon.
That's it for Showbiz. For the bulletin, before I go to a quick run through our top stories, the Ghana Health Service is urging the public to immediately report any suspicious ailment to the nearest health facility as it mounts increased surveillance at the country's borders to check infiltration of Ebola virus. Parliament has directed the health minister to review the health insurance capitation program within 4 weeks. The Ashanti Region Police Command has formed an anti-robbery task force to check the growing number of cases. The Ghana Infrastructure Fund Committee has settled on modalities for accruing, regulation and disbursement of the fund. And a 6-year-old Wenchi girl denied education because of her disability is yet to gain admission a month after her story was aired. That'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Ezra Lai. Have a good evening.